This is Rowena Dooley asking Skull citizens to report for duty. Asking Skull citizens to report for duty.
Hey, greetings, welcome to Soul Voices. I'm GriffinGamingRPG. Please forgive me, I'm squeezing in a very late breakfast. Today was a busy day, so I was running a little late, but I made it just under the wire, 3 minutes after. I hope you guys are doing good. Thank you guys for joining us today for another round of conversation with the Star Citizen community. Once again, I'm GriffinGamingRPG. I'm your host, and this is Soul Voices, the show where you get to come on and talk with me one-on-one and share with the community your thoughts about the subjects that I select to talk about for the week in relation to Star Citizen. I'm usually pulling information from Spectrum, from Reddit, or the gaming industry. And so, yeah, we're going to have a great time today, hopefully talking. This is Invictus, end of Invictus week. We're wrapping it up. Just a couple more days, and Invictus 2954 will be passed. I hope you guys have had a good time enjoying that, other than the stuttering at the convention center. It was interesting, you know, some cool stuff. I'm kind of curious later on, maybe tomorrow, our Sunday show, we're going to be talking about Invictus. And one of the things I want to kind of throw out there for those of you who are watching today, even though it's not a question for today, was, do you feel like Invictus is growing, static, just not doing anything, or falling off? I just want, I'm kind of curious, you know, when you went to, if you went, maybe you didn't even go, you know, maybe you didn't go visit. Maybe you said, most of those ships I've seen. Maybe you said, I'm only going to go on the days when there's a new ship out. Maybe some of you didn't even think about Invictus. I am curious as to what you all think. You guys can put it in chat if you want to. I am curious if you got any thoughts. Is it up, down, sideways? What do you think about Invictus? Like I said, tomorrow we're going to be doing our Invictus review. We always do a review of Invictus after it's over with. So tomorrow we'll be doing that. So hopefully you guys will be able to join us for that. In the meantime, today's topic, has CIG quote unquote crossed the line? Have they crossed the line? What line are you talking about, Griff? Well, we'll talk about that line in a little bit. We'll have to see what you guys think. Has CIG crossed the line? Now, mind you, some of you will think they've crossed several lines, but we're going to be talking about one line in particular. And it's actually from a post that got deleted. I saw this post on either Wednesday or Thursday, and when I went back yesterday to pull the link for it, I was like, no, I pulled the link. I was going to go, I think I was trying to find out who the author was, because I didn't write it down, and it was gone. So I'll be very interested to see what you guys think about that particular topic that we talked to when we get to it. It's actually going to be our last topic, so, you know, stick around for that, okay? The thread is no longer visible. Yeah. Okay, yeah, FC. Yes, I know. Thank you. I appreciate you covering that. I just saw your message. So let's go ahead and get into it. Once again, there's a link that will pop up from time to time. When that link pops up, you guys can click on it. You can come into the Discord and talk with me one-on-one. So hopefully, you're feeling good this weekend. You say, oh, you know what? I've never talked to Griff before. I've never shared my ideas on this show. But yeah, I know I'm not in the live channel. Thanks, A New Soul. I'm going to jump down in a second. But, maybe today will be your day. Today will be your day where you'll say, yeah, I'm going to jump down here and talk to Griff for once. He doesn't seem like a scary guy. Well, I am kind of scary. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into it. Okay. Let's see. Is our computer thing working? Is it working? It isn't working. What the heck happened? Okay. Let me see what's going on here, gang. My automation is not automating. That's interesting. All right. Well, we'll have to do it the old manual way. Let's see. That's there. Oh, okay. Here we go. Hope this is the right one. Yes, it is. There we go. All righty. Let's see. Pops, how are you in here already? And I haven't even asked the question yet. I just noticed Pops is sitting in the queue already. I haven't even asked the question. So let's talk about this first topic, but you're more than welcome to stay there. If you want to watch the show from the queue, that's fine. Let's get to our very first topic. This one came from Spectrum, if I'm remembering correctly. Is Star Citizen still a space sim, or is it now Space COD? Space COD, that would be a good name for a game, right? Space COD. Well, for right now, we'll go with Space Call of Duty, for those of you who don't know what COD is. And that's by Zeoran, okay? So let's see what Zeoran has to say about this particular question. Raising the bar on space combat. Log in and out anywhere, anytime with no consequence. Regen, unlimited times from any med bed that now fits in the back of an SUV. It's really starting to feel like Chris Roberts' original vision for Star Citizen is no longer the driving force for the game, and someone new has taken charge and is chasing a new and a modern player base, and doesn't want the high concept space sim we were promised and that we've supported for nearly $1 billion over the last 10 years, but would rather make this into Space Battlefield. How do we get back to the game that was promised in 2014? Okay, Zeroin has a lot of ands in there, so barring all the ands and all the ampersands, anyway, there's a lot of points here. The title of this once again is Chris Roberts. Is this still Star Citizen? Is it a space sim? Was it ever a space sim? Was it supposed to be a space sim? Or is it now Space Call of Duty? Let's see what you guys think. I'm going to bring some folks in here. We got, as I mentioned, Pops in Space was already in line, so we'll bring him in. Pops, how are you?
Okay.
Good. I'm good.
I only went to channel so you could see that you were not in the right
channel.
channel.
Don't worry. I would have found out eventually. You know what I mean? I tried to talk.
I didn't want people to pop down in there and start talking.
No worries. Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's all. This logging in and out anywhere, saying that Chris Roberts is not, I'm not sure where this person is getting that from.
You mean about the Chris Roberts part?
Yeah.
I think what they're inferring is because things seem to be changing and going a different direction than what he believes Chris has said. It seems like somebody else is running the boat. I think that's what he's saying. I don't think he's saying that he has some inside information that Chris isn't there. He's just saying what's being produced to him doesn't seem like something that Chris Roberts would be producing.
Yeah, but he's kind of basing it on alpha testing that, as if, okay, Disco Lando did a small little segment, Space Dad.
Mm-hmm.
And he just went in and just said, everybody take a deep breath, kind of, this is alpha. We're testing.
Hmm.
It may move from 2050 to 1030. It may go from 3070 or whatever it is. It's game. People are kind of judging the game at the alpha state, the state of testing, the state of finding out what fits best.
Okay.
And they're, kind of stoking the flames and things like that. But that's just my opinion.
Well, let me
have a legitimate.
Well, let me ask you a question. Do you think that even though it's testing, I think what they're saying is it seems like Chris Roberts is testing stuff that wasn't supposed to be on the map. So if you're only going to test things that you're thinking about doing or you're considering doing. So do you think that's why this person might be wondering? Because they said this stuff wasn't mentioned back in the past. It seems like there's somebody new, or that they're trying to cater to, as he puts it, a modern player base. I don't know what a modern player base is. I don't know if that means younger people or newer people or what. I don't know. I don't think the people in 2017 are any more modern than the people in 2012. But I don't know. I mean, what do you think? You think?
Well, the original plan wasn't to land on planets either.
Yeah. Well, the original plan.
That was something that.
No. I want to correct you on that.
Okay.
Just so you'll know, because I know this was old history, and all the history is, our history is really old. It wasn't that it wasn't planned for us to land on planets. It was that when the game started, when we went into Star Citizen, when it launched, the idea was that we would be able to go to a planet, and when if let's say you want to go to New Babbage, you would get there and you would request to go, and you would go directly to New Babbage. And what they said was that later they'll work on the tech so that maybe we'll be able to land anywhere. So what happened was that it came faster than expected. So that's when we say, oh, we weren't supposed to land on planets. It was more like when the game launches, we weren't supposed to be able to, but they always had it in their plans. You know what I mean by plans, right? That someday maybe they would come up with the tech so that we could land, on a planet. But yeah, I get what you're saying. I agree with you 100%. There is a dynamic that we're testing, right? And that's where we are right now. I think this person may be just feeling a little nervous because to them, they may seem like we're testing some stuff that we never heard about before. Where does stuff kind of come from, and they're a little nervous, Yeah.
It's hard to tell where a person, when they write something out, where it's coming from. And you're exactly right. Where, where their, words are attached to, but inside their own mind. But,
okay. Cool. All right, Pops.
I kind of go with disco.
Okay. I agree. Okay. All right. Thanks, Pops. All right. Let me bring in the Q. Q is here this week. Let's drop him in. Hey, buddy. How are you?
How you doing, brother?
Good.
So when it comes to this particular topic, I gotta disagree a little bit in regards to the original vision is no longer the driving force. I mean, his vision ultimately was the best damn space game, right? Space, or however you want to put it. He's changed it a couple times over the years. But the reality is, just like anything else in life, a house built in 1920 isn't up to the standards of a house built in 2020. A car built 30 years ago isn't up to the standards of a car built today. As time progresses, information comes in, you see where the actual community is going, you adapt. That's not a bad thing, as long as his vision of creating the best damn space game, which in my opinion, it is. Name another one that's better right now. So, I think it is that. And I do think that originally, because you've been around a very long time, Griff, I know you know this. Originally, when they put out the Kickstarter, I guess it was when they hit about 20 million, maybe 25, somewhere around that time frame. There was a quote out there where Chris was saying, when they first put out the Kickstarter, he thought 20 million would be a windfall. He was designing a game, what he thought a niche group of people who would be willing to spend 20 million would want. We're now at 680, something like that,
Mhm.
somewhere around there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be $1 billion before it releases.
Mhm.
Do you not think it's wise for the CEO of a company with 1,300 people to adapt and make sure that their company survives over that? And to make, someone just said, Toggy, get out of here.
He didn't Togi say Togi being funny over there trolling. I know, I was laughing. I saw it.
But I'm just saying, things will change and adapt. I mean, I think of it like the reclaimer, for example. I want to use that as an example. I know the original concept was an arm that reached out and munched and cut and did all these things.
Right.
But they realized the amount of tech that was required for that and the amount of effort, time, resources to get that would not move the project along far enough, fast enough to meet the demands, and you have to make trade-offs. That's what real business is.
Right.
I know we all backed the dream when it was really a dream.
Mm-hmm.
It's now a full-fledged business with a product that we want it to release. We want it to actually become real. Right. I mean, we still have how many features are still tier 0?
Mm-hmm.
Right. We need them to progress to tier 1 and tier 2 so that we have a game.
Mm-hmm.
And if we keep chasing the most extreme portions, I don't think we'll ever get there. And I think that's what they're doing. They're just trying to dial it back a little so that we can actually achieve the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyways,
those are good
the
points.
other part that I would like to say real quick before I bounce out of here, Griff, is I think their number one goal is to bring in money, which they did today. They got another almost $800 from me from the stupid Caterpillar because they had to produce 2 of them after the community was like, make an assault version. Great. Now I had to buy 2 of the dang things today.
Yeah. We'll be talking about that tomorrow because I think that was an interesting move what they did. So it's a good point you raise up. All right, Q, as always, man, we appreciate you. Thank you for coming by. All right, Q's a good guy. You guys make sure you guys check out Q and his wife. They are an amazing team. They've been just kind of become a fixture here in the Star Citizen community, and Pigtails. I'm like Carbon Pigtails. You guys make sure you check them out. Give them a shout out if you can, Fast Cart. They're good people. Let's bring in Fist to Face next and see what Fist thinks. Hey, Fist.
Hey, what's up, Griff?
Okay.
My take on this topic. See, I'm probably vaguely familiar with Chris's original vision because I've learned a lot of things basically through you guys.
Mm-hmm.
So I can understand possibly, his I guess you could say, I'm trying to think of the right word here. Apologies, it's eluding me. But anyway, I can understand his concern, put it that way. As to possibly what he may have saw or heard in his mind. But at the same time, too, we've always learned that, gamers can sometimes manufacture stuff,
Mm-hmm.
in our minds. But to the point, though, I wanted to kind of hone in on what he was talking about logging in and out anywhere without any consequences. I don't think I've ever heard that being said. I've never heard that being said, that you will be able to log in and out without consequences.
Mm-hmm.
Because to be honest with you, that would be basically what we used to have before they tried to implement that combat timer beforehand, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was obviously not the from what I could tell, not the original vision that I do know.
Mm-hmm.
So that part, I will have to say that he is incorrect on that part.
Okay.
Which then leads me to believe that if you have one part incorrect, then you may have other parts of what you are saying incorrect. Not calling you a liar or anything like that. All I'm saying is just that sometimes you may have to go back and revisit whatever that 2014, that information that you might have heard.
Yeah.
You might have said, "Oh man, I might have added something." You remember that old game we used to play as a kid, telephone?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, not telephone.
Pass
it along.
Yeah.
Pass it along, right?
Where you tell somebody something and pass along, the information changes.
It gets right back to you. It's changed. It's different.
Right.
So that happens over the years.
Yeah.
With us.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You mentioned a good point. It's funny. I honestly believe that Star Citizen will ultimately have its own mythos of what was true and what wasn't true. what was said, what
Right.
wasn't said, right?
Mhm.
And yeah, I mean, I agree with you. There's some points here which I'll save to the end that I think, not to be a contrarian, but I think that are either misinformation or misunderstood. There may be some valid
Right.
points here too. But let me just real quick before I move on to Togi, do you feel like the game is moving toward more of a Call of Duty feel, or do you think it's more of a space sim, or do you think it's somewhere in between?
Certainly not. And I'm gonna tell you from my firsthand experience, real quick, from going out and actually doing the missions.
Mhm.
When we were doing, me and my dad, we've been doing, distribution missions by ourselves.
Mhm.
What we had to do is, we took out, whatever, I think it was a CC one or whatever, and we parked about 9K away
Mhm.
and had to take the bikes in,
Mhm.
right? Because we thinking we doing unverified
Mhm.
missions, by the way,
Mhm.
and we're thinking we're gonna get shot down,
Mhm.
right? So to the point though, Call of Duty is, and I've played Call of Duty before, in the past. Call of Duty is a quick run and gun, in, out, bang, 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 right back to the start after 10 seconds.
Okay.
It's definitely a vast difference because, again, I've always said, or I've always seen the vision of this game as it is even progressing even further now.
Mhm.
It's a game of consequences.
Mhm.
Call of Duty is a game of, okay, let me get my scoreboard, my KD ratio up. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So that's I don't see that
Okay.
to me.
Okay. All right. That's a fair assessment. I appreciate that. Thank you, Fist. Really appreciate you as always. Let me bring in the one and the only Sir Togi. Togi,
What up?
Hey, how are you?
Been chilling.
Yeah, good.
So, I agree with this person that it is going to a more Call of Duty kind of feel,
Okay.
but it kind of has to. Like, that's where we're at. You know, like, this is what happens when dreams meet reality, when you have to impose that on it and actually build it. You know, it's like when an architect makes this really cool building design and an engineer looks at it and it's like, yeah, no way. Like, it's not going to work like that. And then you've got to find someplace in the middle. All right. To give you an example, when me, Pops, and Fistaface were out at Rappel and we had somebody attack us, like I never even saw the guy. There was 3 of us. He took us out. And, I wasn't upset about it, but
Right.
the thing that I did kind of think about was, man, it would be really nice to have that scanner. To be able to get some idea, at least a basic direction,
Right.
of where that guy was at. Because I mean, as of right now, the sound stage and stuff really isn't quite good enough in Star Citizen to locate somebody by that.
Yeah.
And as we get closer to release, we're gonna have to make concessions to make the game playable.
Yeah. Do you think that maybe I'm going to say this? There's some points in here I disagree with this, and there's some points in here that I can understand why the author said what they say. Do you think that maybe that the reason why we associate it to Call of Duty is because for many people, and I've had plenty of people tell me this, that even in development, Star Citizen seems to be leaning so much toward the combat side of what the vision is supposed to be, where we haven't seen those other areas. Like we haven't seen medicine fleshed out. We haven't seen cargo fleshed out. The thing that always seems to be delivered, or it seems that work is being done on, are things that are in relation to FPS, combat. But where's the exploration? Where's the science? So do you think maybe this person might be feeling that way because it just that's where a lot of the emphasis is, and maybe the emphasis is there, to your point, from a business standpoint.
I don't even think it's a business standpoint, right? Like, and I don't think it's because they're focusing on combat, right? It's the basic mechanics of the way that it works. It's the really high forgiving TTK and FPS.
Okay.
It's like when we were in the bases, and then I found out randomly that those NPCs that are walking around unarmed will arm themselves and will kill you.
Right.
And it's because of that lowered TTK that I didn't just get had by a basic naked NPC.
Right. Okay.
Okay. It's we're moving towards that a bit more casual feel that Call of Duty is known for, where I think a lot of people wanted Space Tarkov. And I don't think that's what CR or anybody wants right now, because it's just, for the amount of time investment that it even gets, that you need to put in to even get playing the game, from the time that you log in to the time that you're actually doing something, to make it like Tarkov, where it's not just drop in, drop out, would be bad mechanics for the game.
Okay. All right. I'll buy that for $1. Thank you, Togi. Appreciate you.
Yep.
All right. Last but not least, the one and the only, our loving Admiral Kusanagi. Hey, Admiral. How are you?
Hey, guys.
There he is.
Happy Memorial Day weekend.
Same to you.
Thank you. Do we expect people who play COD to be like loading boxes and like sure they get like enough drinks with them to go out and to get enough sleep and to take showers because they're going to go to a restaurant to buy, someplace to protect?
Yeah.
Take, a 45-minute trip that I can just down at my car and play chess?
Yeah.
Is that where the COD population is?
Is that what they'll be interested in? Would they be interested in that? But so let me ask you this, Admiral. It's the same question I asked Togi. Do you think that maybe the reason why the person feels that way is because those mechanics haven't been because those mechanics that you and I know about haven't been delivered yet? So what they see is basically they don't see those things, and I don't know how far back this person's been, a backer, maybe they because let me go through this real quick, because since you're here with me, because you can kind of help me confirm some of these things. I said there were things I understood where they're at, and there's some things that are incorrect in here. When we go through it, he says logging in and out anywhere, anytime with no consequence. CIG has talked about they're looking at how bed logging is going to work. They've talked about the idea of how respawning will work. They've said that there would be consequence to things that we do, especially in the areas of region. So that's where I disagree with the person. CIG was very clear, and that has been since Chris Roberts' very first piece. When they say the regen unlimited times from any med bed, now that fits in the back of an SUV. One of my problems with this line is back in the day, we used to do this. This was something that we did, and nobody complained about it. Then they took it away, and they made it so that there was tier 1, 2, and 3, and people who bought Cuddy Reds and stuff got mad and were like, I'm selling my Cuddy Red. They've changed the game, blah, 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 blah. And they introduced the tier system at that point. And now they bring back this aspect of coming back to be able to regen in these beds. But they also very clearly stated that there will be a consequence for doing it. So that in there is somewhat true, but then there's also the dynamic of, yeah, but it ain't finished yet. So I can't, sail my ship on that one. It's really starting to sound like Chris's original vision is no longer a driving force for the game, and someone else is taking charge. And I've heard people say this before. I've had people say, oh, I don't believe Chris Roberts would do that. Or this doesn't seem like something Chris Roberts would do. Or the devs are changing Chris Roberts' vision. And I listen, guys, I can guarantee you, I don't know Chris Roberts. I wish I could say this with 100% certainty, but I'm pretty sure that there's nothing that gets signed off that goes out of CIG that Chris Roberts does not have his stamp on, that he does not see, that he's not aware of. That is not how a company works, where devs can introduce their ideas and the person with the vision is oblivious to the fact that something has happened. To Pops's point, this is a period of testing for us. This reaching out to the modern player base, I already commented about that. I don't know what that means. I don't know if he means a younger player base or a different player base. We're trying to get more people. I'm not sure. High concept space sim, as we were promised. High concept, that term can be used in a lot of different ways. I think that it was a very ambitious project that was multifaceted, that was trying to do many things into a game that we've never seen before, almost like a hybrid of what we've seen happen in gaming over the years. But this idea of a high concept, I think these are labels that this person may have just labeled it themselves. And then we've supported nearly $1 billion. Well, I just looked up the amount of money that we've raised, and the amount of we've raised is not near $1 billion. We're at $696 million. See how easy it is to raise another $3 billion, gang. It's not an easy task. So there's over exaggeration in there. And then over the last 10 years, and it's been more than 10 years, by the way, it's been 12 years now? How long has it been, Admiral? 12 years? It's been 12 years.
I think something like 35 years, something like that.
Right. It's been 12 years since the Kickstarter was kicked off. And then this idea of making it into a space battlefield. And then he says the game, how do we get back to the game that was promised in 2014? And the 2014 number, I don't know if that's because they're basing it around that was the original year that Squadron 42 was supposed to be kicked out, possibly. Maybe that's what they're talking about. But the vision wasn't set in 2014. Now, mind you, there was some tweaks and things that were done when we started doing the additional milestones, where we started, the community started adding and giving more money and saying they wanted more. But I don't necessarily see a deviation from the vision. I feel that there, to Togi's point, and I'm sure if Kai was here, he'd say this, there are things that have to change because maybe there were some ambitious ideas that they wanted to do that either technology doesn't allow for or time doesn't allow for. Someone mentioned about the claw earlier. I think Q did. When CIG said that they were changing the claw, there was something else they said about the claw. They said, we'll revisit it again later. But for now, this is what we're going to do so that we can get the gameplay going so we can start fleshing out the salvage mechanic. They're not going to hold back the entire salvage mechanic because the claw doesn't open and go forward. That would be insane. What the bigger picture is can we get salvage going? And the claw moving and stuff is the icing on the cake. That was because we all envisioned this. We looked at concept art. We saw some video that Star Jump Grim made and buried it in our head that was going to be the way salvaging worked when it was concept. And concept means just that, the idea of what we would like to do. So though I understand some of where this person is, Admiral, I agree with you 100%. And this person, Call of Duty people, I see Call of Duty people seeing this game and saying, oh, that looks interesting. Do I see them saying, oh my God, this is just like Call of Duty? That I don't see. I agree with you.
That guy who had like 15,000 people playing he won them Star Citizen last.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was one of them, two guys. It was like I think it's this guy. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the quote was like, he thinks everybody here is on crack.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Smoking the good stuff, and we're all in some type of trip.
Right.
So you have someone like that who's used to like really good FPS coming here crying out our FPS. He doesn't like it. It's like, this is like the crap.
Right.
So you had me, of course, you had me digging into some of the comm our side with this question as you brought it up. So back in 2018, they bring up tier 1, 2, and 3, and they also bring up respawning. Bear with me here. This is this is like maybe 6 sentences. In the near future, new respawn points will be introduced. Unlike the current system, dying or falling permanently unconscious in space or on a planet won't mean that you'll just respawn at your last visit location. Instead, you'll respawn at a nearby medical station or on a medical. Being near a major location like Hurston will give you the option to respawn in their dedicated facility, but dying on a remote move would only give you the option of a smaller medical outpost. Having a medical ship in the vicinity allows you to respawn there, providing a bed is available, but this is only for a limited amount of time before returning you elsewhere. As mentioned in Death of a Space, the goal is to still show you how many deaths respawns your character experience.
There you go.
For that to have a somewhat persistent effect over time. So they have not pulled back from what
they said
they've been talking about. And you know that I've been very vocal about how pissed off I've been about this like respawn crap with the ships and stuff. I'm like, this is bull crap, blah, 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 blah. But when I look at this right now and I'm listening to you at the same time, I'm like, they did say this and I kind of forgot about this part of this. Because you go in tier 1 and like, oh, what's that? It's a yellow. Okay, it's a tier 2. Yeah, it's a yellow too. And and you look at that and it's all you just go for the pictures.
Right.
But when you read this thing, and I mean, I could throw it in here in chat.
Yeah, please do.
I think it's just something people can just go through and to get a better understanding of where they're pulling from, because they have never pulled back from something they've said years ago. They've always made it more interesting. you'll have to like someone would have to like give me a firm example of a couple things they've said. Oh, I know there's a couple things, but really for like gameplay stuff, they've been like they've pushed. We thought like look at mining. We thought mining tier 1 and tier 2 was like done, and then they're like, oh yeah, we got modules and we got this, and we're like, oh shit, and then we just kind of think about, and you remember when they did the salvage stuff and did the Harry Potter solving thing, and okay, I just gotta hold tight and it happens. That's the same thing, but
no, thank you for presenting that, because and the reason why sometimes I kind of give a little bit of latitude and room is people haven't done what you, first of all, some people haven't done what you just did, which was say, hey, let's see what they really did say. What have they said? Or what was the latest thing they've said? The other thing is that there's a lot of people don't even know that information is accessible to them. And they may have seen a video or heard something, or someone told them something in their Discord. Maybe they just gotten used to the way the game has played. And then when a change comes up like this, it throws them off. Now, you and you've heard me say this. I encouraged people when people have bought certain ships in the game, and they see what they read the brochure, they see the trailer, and this is what it's supposed to do. And then when something changes, they go 180 degrees on the ship because the concept of it changed. I'm not saying that won't happen, that there won't be times where CIG modifies something. What I will say is this: I think if they change it, there's good reason. It's not just arbitrary. And to Admiral's point, sometimes the changes happen because they're going to create a different level of depth that maybe we didn't expect to see in that mechanic. So we don't place all your money or bet on the current state of the game, and then when it changes, because you're setting yourself up to get hurt. I'm not saying it will happen, but I think you may be setting yourself up because we're not there yet. Alpha is a time for CIG to do everything it wants to do, to test, try, see what it's like, see if it works, fail, hit it on the mark, miss the mark. This is the time for them to do it, because when we get to beta, beta is when features and content are locked in. That's when we're pretty sure that this is where we want to go with the game. Now, when we get there, I don't know if it's going to be 4.0. I don't know if it's going to be 1.0, whatever they call it. But that's the point where if you got some serious concerns, you better raise them. Now, I know some people say, well, that's too late in the game because they've already laid stuff out. That's just the way gaming is. You can't flex gaming that much where you can just constantly make changes. There's going to be a point where somebody makes the hard decision and says, okay, this is where we are right now. We're pretty sure we're going to bounce this to you guys to get some feedback. If it's substantial enough, maybe we'll go back and change it. If it's minor enough, we'll possibly change it. But then there may be some things that we'll say, nope, if we change that, it changes the whole dynamic of the game. And even though you guys say this, that, and the other, we can't do that. And we have to be prepared as backers to accept those three different spaces of where we will be when we get there. But right now, all I'm saying is, and Admiral, again, thank you for bringing that up, because CIG, you got to give CIG some latitude to change some things. And unfortunately, it bothers us when it's to something that we like, right? If Admiral's into, doing medicine and they decide to say, oh, we're going to do this, that, and the other, I may not be that concerned about it because I'm into mercenary stuff. So as long as you don't mess with the mercenary stuff, good luck, Dr. Kusanagi, but we all have to give room for the fact that for the greater good of the game, things can change. Things can definitely change. All right, Admiral.
I'm glad you said medicine and not anime.
Okay, thanks, Admiral.
Oh, you wouldn't be far off if you said medicine and anime girls.
Okay, thanks, buddy. All right, okay, good stuff, you guys. Those are all great points. We'll see. I'm keeping my options open to where they're going, but I think CIG is going to make the game in a good direction. We're not going to be a space sim, y'all. We're not a space sim. We're not. We get close to simulating some things and some very cool feel of things, but it is not a sim in the truest sense of the word. A sim. Let's see who's here. Tim Cup 28. Thank you for that follow. Presul, thank you for the follow as well. Jeshua, thank you also. And Daft. Oh, that was from a couple days ago. I don't know if anybody said it, but thanks for the 200 bits from a couple days ago. I just saw your name and I just wanted to say hi. Anyway, let's move on. Let's go on to the next one here. Let's have a little fun on this next one here, and then the next one's going to be a little bit less fun. It'll be more intense, I think. But let's do this one here. This was in Reddit. we kind of talked about this a little bit in the past. And this one was posted by blazeee. It says, I hope I'm not the only one who likes to pick up the trash around the food vendors and put it into the trash can where it belongs. Do your duty as a citizen and stop littering. Okay. This is something that I know we all see in the game, And so, my question to you is, are you there was a TV show that came up when I was a kid. It was called The Odd Couple. It was Oscar Madison and Felix Unger. These are these two guys that were roommates, and Felix was like the neat freak and kept clean and dressed neat and everything else. And Oscar was the guy who drank beer, threw the beer cans on the ground, left the open greasy French fries out, all that stuff. Okay. Who are you? Are you Felix Unger when you're in the game? Do you run through the game and see all this stuff on the ground and you're like, man, these people are dropping all this stuff? Or do you go through there and just go, which one are you? Okay. And now, in the midst of talking about which one you are, my question to this is, what mechanic do you think CIG could do to, or should they? Should they create a mechanic that has to do with how we dispose of things, whether it's your medical gown, whether it's your can of fizz that you're drinking, whatever it is. And let's think about the technical impact of these items too. We all know that they become entities. They will definitely, no matter how small they are, they have some form of impact on performance in the game. I'm sure that if all of a sudden we started realizing that, hey, the frame rates are funky because the cans are on the ground, people might start throwing them away. I'm not saying that should be the motivation. I'm saying, what do you think CIG can do to create a motivation that might make players, like they're by the trash can, throw it in the trash can. I'm wearing the medical gown, hang it up in the locker. Whatever it may be, but let's see if you guys have any ideas for things that you think CIG could do for that. Let's bring Fist to Face back in. Fist, you there?
Oh, hey, what's happening? Good. All right. What's my stance here? You know what? To be honest with you, though, Griff, I'm kind of both. I'm both. Sometimes I'm throwing a beer can on the ground because I'm in a rush to go to wherever I got to go to. Sometimes I'm, like my man Robert would say, I'm a fine Southern gentleman. Okay, and I'm a law-abiding citizen, as one may say. Right? And I put my can, and then throw it away. Now,
well, let me ask you a question. Does it impact you at all, like depending on where you're at? Like, in other words,
yes, it does. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And I'm glad you asked that question because I was getting ready to say that.
Okay, all right, fair.
Center.
Okay,
I was at the convention center, right?
Okay,
and I bought, a drink. And so after I finished drinking it, you know what I did? I see the garbage can around. I said, let me just place this back on the counter for the attendant to throw it away.
There you go. Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there is a consciousness of saying, okay, well, I am in a nice little place here. Let me not be the little bug, but I will say if I'm in Hurston, and I see a bunch of trash, I may have to, contribute to that trash pile.
You go get Colossal upset. You go get Colossal upset. You trashing up his home.
Yes, sir.
Mudhole. Yes, sir. This is my home.
Listen, look, I'm just being real. I mean, when you walk around the corners and you see dust piles the size of sand dunes, I mean, what do you? I mean, to help me understand something. Yeah. I'm just saying. But I mean, I get it. Like if I'm over in the business district in Hurston,
right,
I may have to do my my law-abiding citizen part, because just in case I might get beat down with a bunch of billy clubs, later on in the game if they put that in there. I'm just saying, and I think you asked the question, what could they do, right? It would be cool to see if, first of all, the first iteration, if they would have litter as a fine or something like that. Right?
Okay.
But it would be within the concept of gameplay, like if a guard or something like that caught you.
Okay.
Then if they can go a step further, how lenient are they? Because just as you know, in the more impoverished sections of society, things are more lenient towards that versus when you're in a more high, value section of the world, right?
Okay.
So that would be kind of cool to kind of see that realism be there. Maybe so, maybe not, but hey, whatever.
Okay, that's fair enough. All right, somewhere in between Oscar and Felix. I got you. That sounds good. All right, bro. Thanks a lot. All right. Oh, wow. Fast cart. That's an interesting piece of information. I won't share that in the comments, but we can talk about that later. That's pretty interesting. Oh, by the way, the prisoner, you made me laugh earlier when we were talking about the Call of Duty thing, and you were like, is it Space Call of Duty? And you were like, well, it could be worse. It could be Fortnite. You got to laugh out of me. Okay. I appreciated that. Let me bring in I think it was Togi next. I think Togi was next. Let me bring Togi in. Hey, Togi.
What up?
There he is.
So I just got to preface this with saying, if you wanted to talk about litter, you didn't need to go on Reddit under a pseudonym to make this post.
It wasn't me. It really wasn't me.
It wasn't me. It wasn't me. I'm sure it wasn't.
It wasn't.
You
it
just
wasn't.
picked this at random.
I saw it and laughed. I saw it and laughed. You know how I am, so I saw it and laughed. But yeah, what do you think?
Spirit over here.
What do you think? Do you think that there's anything that they could do? I mean, it actually would make it a gameplay thing, or no? Do you think it's not that big of a deal?
Yeah, I think that you could make it so that it's a crafting material.
Ooh, yeah.
Like,
aluminum,
it's aluminum.
Aluminum, yeah. Didn't even think about that.
Especially for outposts and stuff. People that want to have that like scrape and buy kind of thing. Like especially on Hurston, the guy going around collecting cans.
Yeah.
Like that would be, that would certainly make that place feel super impoverished.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You just opened up a whole thing there that I didn't think about from crafting, because I know, and I think on New Babbage, they've got like actually a paper recycle, you know what I mean? Kind of, they got 3 type of things. And I get that around the lore of that particular location. But wow, I was just thinking about the fact that you've got plastics, you've got aluminum, and will those just like no different than when we go out, we're talking about pulling the horn off of the freaking Copian, that could be something that people could either get paid for or utilize in a crafting scenario. That's interesting.
I mean, and what's one of the commodities, one of the 2 commodities that, major LZs sell?
Mm-hmm.
It's scrap and what else?
What's
waste.
The other? Waste, yeah. Yeah, that's true. Wow.
So we know that it's supposed to have some sort of intrinsic value to it.
Yeah.
And so maybe if you could buy that, and it would, and again, like maybe not even like giving credits for picking it up, but maybe it's just you get a discount on the waste.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that would be cool. I never thought about it I thought about crafting, but not in the sense of like to take those little items and doing crafting. That's a pretty cool idea. Okay. All right, my brother. Thank you. Good suggestion. Good suggestion. All righty. Let's bring in, I think the Q was next. Let me bring him in next here. Hey, Q.
Hey, bud.
There he is.
I don't know why I'm still here.
That's okay.
So I see this, as you pointed out in the very beginning, as 2 distinctly different things.
Okay.
Thing number 1 is the visuals in the game. Right, walking around, seeing trash, feeling like your home's dirty. Right, that's issue number 1, and issue number 2 is server performance. To me, the more important thing, as a backer in a company that I'm actually hoping succeeds long term, is the server performance. And there's not a system in the world that I can think of that the owners of said assets don't put constraints upon their users. Gmail, OneDrive, you name it, and there's a constraint. You can only they can't just let everyone have everything, right? Because people in their very nature will abuse it. I think it is incumbent upon CIG to come up with a system of cleanup. I mean, you can even go so far as to look at real life, municipalities, airports, train stations, it doesn't matter what it is, they hire companies to come in and clean up because they understand that the general public will not do it. Now, if there was a magic, I could clean up the earth with a click of a button every 15 minutes, we would employ that in real life.
Right.
We would do that.
Right.
The only reason we don't do that is because it doesn't exist. I think we should implement something like that in game. I think there should be rewards for doing your civic duty and cleaning up and being part of the RP, role playing community. I do agree with that.
Yeah.
With that said, I also think it is incumbent upon CIG to have some sort of cleanup mechanism that, and it would be dependent upon the type of item that's on the ground, right? A gun may stay longer than a can, for example, specifically an empty can. It would have a much shorter, right, duration. You know what I'm saying? I do think that the health of our game and how much it costs to run these servers is incumbent upon them to ensure that is good.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So
I know they talked about.
I wanted to talk about from that side.
You might remember a while back, one of the first AI things that CIG worked on was the quote unquote AI janitor that they talked about.
Yeah,
and to your point, I'm glad you raised this. CIG talked about the fact that they are going to prioritize items in the verse, how long they last, how long they stay, how long they persist, whichever word you want to use. And I like your idea about the fact of the incentivizing aspect. I know one of the things that I had thought about was that if you throw things away in a city, there would be a slow, how there'd be taxation, right? When you go places, when you buy things, that like my landing fees may decrease, there's a percentage or a discount. If I go to area 18 and I do well, then when I purchase something, maybe there's a 5% off or whatever over time, as it builds, and it incentivizes me even more. The more I do it, that can increase. It could be very small percentage. But as you mentioned, you incorporate that into gameplay in some form, right? So that
I'm not opposed to giving incentives, not just and penalties, not just incentives.
Penalties.
You have
how about that?
Litter reputation.
The guards sees you throw it down.
It costs you 3% more. Right.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, I'm not opposed to those things.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, even with those things, I really think CIG needs to take seriously. Like, for example, the thing that's always annoyed me is the ships that are littered around the space stations, and you end up running into them accidentally because it's just a foot or it's just something there. A real port of entry at any, Baltimore, Norfolk, LA, it doesn't matter where you go. They don't just let dead ships sit out there that would cause other damage. They don't do that.
And you got a mechanic
to make that
now to
incumbent
respond.
upon the player base to clean that up is silly.
Right. Well, I'm saying, but you also have a mechanic now that there are people who, I've had plenty of people who are into salvaging that are licking their chops, right? Because there's some ships sitting out there and they want to tow them and go salvage them. You know what I mean? They really want to do it.
They get in trouble for doing it because
exactly. So it's not like there's not a mechanic there, right? That we could start right away. Trust me, I'm a salvager. The exploit that's going on right now, right outside the areas with the RMC. You fly into Area 18. There's freaking 12 C2s out there. You don't think that we wouldn't be out there snatching those suckers up, stripping them like crazy, you know what I mean? But we can't do it. We can't do it, So yeah, I think, and to your point, not only should there be the incentive for the person who does clean up, but you could make a mechanic that says, if you're drinking a can of fizz and you throw it down and one of the guards sees you do it, they initiate a fine on you. You get a fine. You get $100 CU fine, but like you said, there's a lot of cool stuff they could do, but I agree. CIG also has their end to make sure that they keep things working well in the game so everybody enjoys it. So that's good stuff.
Yeah, I like all the ideas of incentivizing and penalizing all that for the player base. But when we say that, we can't neglect the fact that CIG still has to do their part too.
Absolutely.
You can't just have a random carrick foot sitting out there that couldn't even be salvaged if you wanted to, that you run into and you blow up within 10 seconds after you spend an hour loading up your ship.
Good point. All right, buddy. Thanks a lot, Q.
All right, brother.
All right, let's bring in Pops in Space. Don't forget, guys, you guys can click on the link and come in and share your thoughts too on this. We're having fun with trash in the verse. Let's go. Pops, what you got?
Yeah, the Raptor.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
The Raptor.
Yep, that could be a gig, right? Take that on as a little job when you're broke, like I was the other day.
Yeah. I mean, you know what I would do? It would be relaxing if they gave us something like maybe even a smaller one, a handheld. I don't know what you call a handheld Raptor.
Yeah, that's
but you could just get on it. You could get on it and just go through the stations, go through the city, collect, and like was it Q? Q just said. I forget who just said
it was Q,
but. Right, that you could go and deliver it and get a payout and just relax on your Raptor and just ride around and just collect and think, and there you go, gameplay.
Okay, instant gameplay, and they got the Raptor, so let's see it happen.
Yeah.
All
Yep.
right, Pops.
Cross,
Thanks.
cross my finger.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
All righty. Last but not least, the Admiral himself, Kusanagi.
Hello.
Hey.
So, I understand the whole thing, like, oh, you get some money for throwing a thing away, but I don't know how you're getting paid, but, and I don't know how it seems like you have to do something. People need to get something in return, do something that's beneficial to everybody. And I just think if you throw it on the ground, because there's cameras it's the future. There are cameras everywhere. It's like living in England, and if they know who you are, you just bought it at the store. They're gonna charge you like, say $100, say $500, whatever, and then you walk away and you do it again. Like, oh, that's $1,000. Do it again. That's $5,000, and then do it again. You're not allowed on that station because you're a jackass.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think fines would be interesting. Fines would be interesting. I agree.
Should they have maintenance people to do janitorial, sweep up and like mop the floor? Yeah, I think mopping the floor and stuff like that, and refilling the can, vendor machine could be a thing.
Yep.
But these aren't like, I'm not based like, if you get like a criminal ticket for littering in my state, the first offense is $5,000. Second offense is $15,000.
Incrementally.
So, and that's for criminal tickets. And that's just for littering and trash disposal violation tickets. I'm looking.
I don't know if you can make it as high as the what is it, the violation you get for not stopping by the cops. But I get your point. You exponentially increase it as they go. Yeah, as an deterrent to deterrent. I agree. You have
your friends your friends go on your ship and they're littering. Like an example before. I'd be like, well, I hope you enjoyed your first and last journey to my ship. So I have to clean up your mess after
I have seen people junk up people's ships too, which is really funny to me. It's like, just throw it in the inventory. Don't throw it on the ground in their ship.
It's pretty easy. I do it. I sometimes go to when I buy stuff and there's cans in the ground and water balls. I'll pick them up, and actually it was funny because I was at Microtech maybe like 3 weeks, a month ago, and there was crap all over the ground, and I started picking stuff up. There was a guy in there or somebody in there, and he, probably going through his inventory. But he kind of looked at me, and I could see, and I picked one up, and I went around the corner because the trash can's in the front, around the corner anyways. It kind of came around to see what the hell I was doing. He went right back in there, picked up a water bottle, and threw it away. See? And he was like, what is this guy doing? And like, oh. And then he's like, oh, I didn't know that was I could do that.
Right.
Or I didn't know there was a trash can or whatever. Because I was like kind of, you could see how to put it in there. It has highlights the bottle when you can. Just drop the bin. So that's my take.
No, I think it's a great idea. And again, I'm not looking at the fact of people I'm looking at the recycling side. I think what Togi suggested earlier about one that if I take it, if I keep the plastic, if I keep the can, maybe I can use it in one of these, what do they call them? Fabricators, right? Some machine that I'll be able to use to make some type of item. Maybe when it comes to base building, I can make some things that recycle them and do stuff like that. That would be kind of cool. I like the idea of what you suggested, that if a guard sees you or a camera sees you in an area, then maybe you get a fine, and each time you do it, the fine increases. Then it could get to a point where there's like a criminal aspect or misdemeanor type of thing to it. I like the fact of the idea that someone suggested about if you do these things, that maybe there's a discount that you get when you go shopping. You get over a period of time. It could be 0.1% every time you do it, but over time, if you keep doing that, who knows? You get to a point where you want to buy something, and instead of paying $1,000 for UEC, you pay $900 for it because it was a 10% off. You're at that point. So there's a lot of cool things that they could do that would feel natural in the game. Players would just do it, and it's almost passive because there's some benefit to it later. But then again, there's the technical side too. We want to see better performance, and we want the game to run well, which I think is something that Q mentioned earlier. That does help if we contribute to that as backers. But then also for CIG to also, and the CIG did say that. They said they're going to prioritize items, whether it's a ship in the verse or a pop can sitting on a counter. They're going to prioritize items for how long they stay persistent and before they need to disappear.
Oh yeah, the despawning capability.
Yep.
I think paramount what Q was talking about.
Yep.
Certainly missions for SRV missions and so forth.
Yep.
For picking up some of these wrecks and throwing crash site.
Absolutely. Salvaging would blow up, I think, if people could go to, whether it's a remote, outpost, or whether it's at a full site. I wouldn't even mind going to the admin office and putting in how we do the permits for missions now when you salvage. I'll put in a permit and say, hey, here's $500. Give me the rights to go out and pull that C2 from out of there. And yeah, as far as I'm concerned, I would dig that.
What if that $100 fine for your water bottle, that you can't do that on your Mobi device? You have to go into the admin office before you go to your ship, because they won't pull your ship out. You have to physically.
Yeah, that would definitely curb some people.
Just stand in line, please, behind the
It'd be a line of people. I know it'd be a line of people. All right, Bro. Thank you. All right, gang. That's all good stuff. Good stuff. I'm glad I hope you guys enjoyed that conversation about trash in the verse. We are going to do a 1-minute commercial break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to hit our final and large topic of the day, which I think you guys will find interesting. So give us a second and we'll be right back. Let's see. Commercials running. Hello, everybody. I hope you guys are enjoying the show today. Our next topic is titled, which is our title for today, has CIG crossed the line? But the title of the post was, to me, CIG has crossed the line. And so I want to say thank you guys, as always, for subscribing and supporting us. Listen, want to encourage you too. I know there are a lot of you out there who subscribe to us and you never come in and talk to us. So feel free to come in and chat and give your thoughts, especially on this particular topic, because I think you guys will find it interesting. Am I going to try to read this whole thing? No, I'm not going to read the whole thing, because since it got taken down by CIG, I don't want to really push it. But you'll get the general idea from what we're going to talk about. So let's get ready to get to it. Let's see, 5 seconds and we're back. Okay, we are back. Hope you guys enjoyed that commercial, whatever the commercial was for. Let's get this last topic. As you guys know, I said the title of today's show was, has CIG crossed the line? But that's not actually the title of the post. I modified it a little bit. The title of the post is, to me, CIG has crossed the line. Again, I tried to go back and look up this post last night because I'd forgotten to put down the author's name. And when I went back to Spectrum, the post had been taken down. The post was actually the highest rated post on the Spectrum channel, which can mean something or mean absolutely nothing, as you guys know, for those of you who visit Spectrum. But I'm mentioning this because I know, and I've heard it's a concern, that it's people it was in the concern channel, and I know it comes up as a topic, and evidently because it was the highest rated thing that was there were other people who felt this way. Do I agree with it? We'll talk about that later. But I know that there may be some of you who have certain sentiments and feelings about it, and hopefully we can talk about it today. And I'm not sure if we're going to come to a resolution on it, but give you an opportunity to express your thoughts on it. Okay. Let's take a look at this one. It was called, to me, CIG has crossed the line. I'm only reading the first paragraph. This was a long post. But I'm going to read some of it to you guys. Okay. It said, retiring the F7C Mark I is the most shameless instance of FOMO marketing I have ever seen in my life. And this is the same day that CIG launches yet another multiple $100 concept ship that we won't see for several years, which they laughably tried to pass off as helping them to make the Kraken, which may be the funniest thing I've heard this company say, and the list of CIG punchlines is extensive indeed. I'll read a little bit more because it gives more context. Last week, you released the NERSA, whose sole purpose is given to it by the massive change to respawning, which all but invalidates medical gameplay, which was half-baked, but best did provide medics some copium gameplay at least, when you changed the very system a while ago because people were abusing it, chain killing someone in their Cutlass Red. People will abuse it again, chain killing people in their own NERSAs. Then releasing a commercial on that same vehicle that basically invalidates years of communication regarding death of a spaceman that they have tried to triage as if they are still serious about about it all the more, sim hardcore aspects of this game, and not just using this entire project as to inflate ship selling interface. Okay, so I'm going to stop there. Okay, because after that they list a whole bunch of things that are kind of all over the place, and that's probably why this thing got taken down. My question to you guys is, as you guys know, the Anvil F7 Mark 1 is being discontinued, and mind you, the discontinuing is not that it's not going to be in the game. It's still going to be in the game. They're still going to work on the ships and bring them up to gold standard. But what they said is that they're not going to sell them in the game anymore for real money. Real money. Can't buy them. And so the whole F7 series right now, or all of them. We're going to be talking about this tomorrow on the Invictus show, so I'm not going to wear this point out. But today, I'd love to hear what you guys think about this this move that CIG has done. There have been other times when CIG has produced things and said they're not going to make them anymore, or they're going to change them in the game, or they're going to update their look or bring them to gold standard. But this time is the first time we've seen them take a series of ships and do that. So let's talk about that, or the method behind the madness. Do you think it's a good idea? Do you see maybe they've got some plan? Do you think it's arbitrary? You know, do you think it's just a money grab? You can come in and give me your thoughts, and we're going to start right now with the Q. There he is. You there, Q?
Oh my God, I'm here again.
Okay. I know. I thought you were going somewhere. You had something to do.
I can't help it. I love you guys.
That was fine. That was fine. So what's your thoughts?
All right. First of all, I don't understand.
Okay.
I mean, every ship that they ever come out with obsoletes something before it. That's the whole idea of coming out with a new ship. No one would buy it if it was worse than the one before it. That's a standard capitalism right there. I mean, that's just the fact. I don't understand why anyone would be upset about them retiring a ship that's literally been replaced by something better. I mean, Mark II. It's not even like a different ship. Like, I don't like that look. I mean, it's literally the same ship. A little. I guess you could say it looks a little different, but come on, it looks like a damn Hornet from any distance you're going to be viewing it in space and Star Citizen, right?
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Come on, right?
It looks like a Hornet.
So how does this hurt anybody is the question that I'm curious about. How is it FOMO marketing? I get why it's FOMO marketing, but I think it's standard practices, across the board for any company. Happens all the time. I mean, look at any fashion company in the world. They have this season's, next season's. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that it's standard practice to obsolete the old stuff, but I don't see how this hurts anybody where the outrage is at the level that it is. Can you explain that?
Yeah. I mean, I know what the whole post said, and if I were to give you what it seemed like this person was.
Oh, I read the whole post yesterday.
Oh, you saw it? Oh, okay. All right. So you saw it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right. You saw it. Okay. All right. Yeah. This person seemed like they were very frustrated. Is not even a good word that I would say. My issues with FOMO marketing is one thing when you don't recognize it. It's another thing when you do. And when you recognize it, the question is, how do you respond to it? Because sometimes I hear people who will call out CIG for FOMO, fear of missing out marketing, gang. And for those of you who don't know, fear of missing out marketing, but then they act as if they're victims of it. And it's like, if you know that that's the case, if you believe that that's what CIG is doing, then don't buy anything. FOMO marketing only works when you decide that you're going to buy it. If you decide as a consumer, I'm saying if you're aware, if you don't see what CIG is doing,
you're 100%
is that,
right. And I have my own opinions about their FOMO marketing tactics, and there are times when I've railed against CIG about that, because even though I'm a pretty heavy backer, a lot of our community are not. They're regular backers, and they can get convinced sometimes to spend more than they should. I mean, so I've railed against them from time to time.
Yeah, but the problem is, let me stop you a second. I understand what you're saying. This is like a marriage. In marriages, when there are issues, it's very rare that it is 100% someone else's problem. Sometimes
Well,
it's
no question.
90% the other person and 10%. Both people have some engagement in it. And my problem with the FOMO piece is if people come into this project and they're unaware of how the marketing strategy works, I can see how they can be considered, to a certain degree, victims, to a certain degree. I'm talking about the people who know it's FOMO, and then they'll complain about being FOMO, but then they will go buy ships under FOMO and then complain that they got FOMO'd. That's what I'm talking about.
No, that's why I said you were right. That's why I said you're absolutely right.
Okay.
No, I was just saying that in the aspect of FOMO, there have been instances where I've complained. I was like, oh man, this really sucks for these new people. And for the most part, it's, come on, you should know better. You're an adult, in my opinion. There have been some instances, I can't think off the top of my head, that I've really not liked. This specific one that so far the title crossed the line.
Right.
I totally don't understand. I saw someone in chat say, well, it's because they want you to buy the $130 ship as opposed to getting it in game. Well, two things. One, it won't be purchasable on the store either.
Right.
From now on. So you're not ever going to be able to buy this ship.
Right.
And two, why would you ever buy the Mark I when the Mark II is empirically better in every single way? I don't understand how they are tricking you out of your money
nostalgia.
on this one.
Maybe it's nostalgia. You know, I mean, not to be funny. Remember when CIG debuted the new design for the Vandal ships? There was a huge contingency of people that got upset when they said, we're going to discontinue that. They did that with the old Cutlasses. People got upset because CIG discontinued that line of being, at least in this one, they're going to stay in the game. They said that that's going to change, you know. So I don't know if it's nostalgia. I don't know if it's because people are trying to be completionists and make sure that they have everything. And they thought, oh, I'll earn that in the game later. And now I'm not going to be able to do it. Yeah, true.
I know a little about that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, true.
So coming from a completionist,
okay. which you are. Yes, you are.
I mean,
you know.
There are going to be a couple of things that I will only be able to get in the game once it goes live by trading with another player.
Right. Exactly.
Period.
Exactly.
Not going to be able to buy it at a store. Not going to be able to pay CIG any money for it.
Exactly.
Trust me, there are 7 things on my list that I cannot have until the game goes live. This is going to be one of them for new people going forward. I don't understand the problem.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Thank you, brother.
All right.
He was so funny. All right. I think Togi was next. Let me bring Togi in. Hey, Togi.
What up?
There he is.
So there's no such thing as a free dinner, right?
Okay.
And as much as we want to sit here and we want to talk about, the backer's responsibility to recognize FOMO, like CIG has a responsibility to recognize the non-monetary costs of their monetization strategy.
Okay.
Right? Yes, they don't have to deal with publishers, but when you ask for this kind of money and you do these kind of practices, they're gonna pay with their reputation. We recognize it as FOMO. They should have recognized it as FOMO too. That is what they're doing.
Okay.
And while that's not necessarily something to go, burn the palace down over.
Right.
It's also, we can't just go like, capitalism. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. There's an aspect of this that is a tight wire rope walk. This is when people get into the discussions about the ethics of CIG. And this is where, and I'll be honest with you at this point, because I was going to say this at the end, but I'll say this because of what you just said. There are some things that CIG does that for me, I have to wait until to see the end result on it. And I don't want to be completely Machiavellian, but I want to say, will the ends justify the means in the end? Will there be, in retrospect, where we'll look back and say, oh, it wasn't that bad? Or will we look back on it in retrospect and say, that was really funky, the process we got here, but yeah, look at what we had to do. What were the compromises that we did? What is the player basis meant? Will the player base forget this as a minimal thing, or will it be something that remains with the player base in the history of the development, even if the game does well for itself, right?
All empires are built on bodies. Yeah. And you gotta, sometimes you look back and you wonder if it was all worth it.
If it was the way to do it. Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't think that Star Citizen is going to be any different.
Yeah. I agree. There will be those who will look back, and including myself, that will look back and see. My issue with this is, and this has, I'm going to go outside of the FOMO moment and talk about something else. And I still have to keep some of this for me. I have to keep it within the context of alpha. What if, and I'm not saying, guys, I'm not saying this is the case. So please don't think that Griff is saying this is what's going to happen. But I sat around and thought about it. And someone suggested this the other day because I was thinking about it. And someone else said it. And I said, well, maybe I'm not as crazy as I think I am, even though I think I'm crazy. What if the Mark 1 becomes a blueprint later in the game when crafting comes in and people can build one? What if the Mark 1 becomes a rare item in the game and it becomes desirable? And so now, because people would normally, to Q's point, why would you buy a Mark 1 versus a Mark 2 or buy the new F7? Well, guess what? There's only so many of these in the verse. And man, I would love to have one of these in my collection to have them. I'm saying there's
not even like this is new.
Exactly.
Like, I mean, with the Hall limited chips, it's been a thing. With the Saber Raven, it's been a thing.
Yep. So I'm just saying, I'm not closing the book yet on the whys of why they've done this yet. I'm not sealing it off and saying, oh, this is it. I'm wondering if there is some method to what you and I might call the madness. And if there is, it still goes to your point. Would it be a good or bad thing?
Like it's a completely justifiable thing to think, and it's intrinsic to Star Citizen's narrative. You can't talk about Star Citizen without talking about the larger ethics of their monetization. But like you said, it's really about do the ends justify the means.
Yeah.
If we had to rely on traditional means of funding this game, we would not be here.
Yeah. And that's the well, I'm not going to say that's the bad pill, but that is the dark side of some of this. We've talked about this on previous shows. There are two things you need to be able to do in a game when you're building out something, and one of them is money and time, and both of them cost. Money costs and time costs, and that's the funny thing about when we hear the people who rage back and say, "Let's just stop giving them money." I'm like, okay, well, if you want to do that, that's fine, but understand that you're cutting your neck off too. I understand why they say it. That they're trying to vote with their dollars when they want something, but if we don't continue to get revenue, unfortunately, those of us who've been around a long time, I was sharing this the other day, most people who've been in the game for a while right now are probably tweaking, CCUing, melting, and using credit. Most of this stuff is leaning toward the newer people who've come in over the last 3-4 years, people who are willing to spend fresh money into the game. And maybe that's why for me, it's not such a big thing. And maybe people who are newer might feel a certain kind of way, but there's some old dogs who feel a certain kind of way too about these type of decisions still, at this point in the game, but we'll see. I think your point is well made, Togi. We'll have to see how history will tell this story later on, whether it was worth it. And we'll see. All right, my brother, as always, appreciate you. Thank you. All righty. Let's bring in, I want to say Pops and then Fist. Pops, you there?
Yeah, yes, I am.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The whole idea of retiring a ship, I think it's a great idea. First of all, the fear of FOMO. If you don't want to buy anything, don't buy anything. That's your own, whatever. But I think the retiring something, it's a part of manufacturing. What the Mustang came out when, Griff, the 60s?
Yeah, 50s actually. 50s or 60s, yeah.
Right. And there's models that came out back then you cannot buy right now. You have to go and find a collector that has them, and maybe it's in their barn or something like that. And then you go and fix it up.
Right.
So it could be part of a gameplay that they may be considering, which is a good thing. I think there should be collector things in the game that you will not be able to get once the game comes out, and then you could have a market for it. Maybe it's a piece that you sit on your desk and somebody sees it and they want to buy it from you.
Okay. All right. Unique items in the game. Yeah. Okay. I like that.
I think it's maybe what do you do? Easter egg hunts or something like that in the game. Maybe you have to go somewhere and find a part. Maybe you find a part for the ship and you can sell the old part to somebody that's trying to put it together. It's a lot of things they could do with that. So I find absolutely no problem with it whatsoever.
Okay. All right, Pops. I appreciate that. Thank you. I have to sit here and laugh at Cyberwolf. I will never forgive Wendy's for retiring the old barbecue sauce for the new one that sucks. That's pretty funny, Cyberwolf. Yeah, I know. There's some things you just can't retire, right? And that's one of them. That's actually pretty good. Let me bring in Fist of Base next. I think Fist was next. Hey, Fist.
Hey, what's going on, Griff?
Okay.
So we talked about FOMO before, and then, everybody says, folks need to, you know what? I'm gonna have to channel something from one of my favorite singers, Janet Jackson. And I know Fast Car will appreciate this, right? Control. Dum, 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 dum. Control, right? So when you sit back and you see a television commercial like everybody else was probably saying, sitting back and saying, right? What happens when they bring the McRib back around? Right?
Yeah. So,
I mean, come on. I mean, we live it every day in FOMO.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
we do. And I mean, do you think that CIG crossed the line? I mean, I want to come back to the original question. Do you think that by them doing this and taking a series of ships and saying, you can't buy these with cash anymore, doesn't say they're not going to be available, it just says you cannot buy them with cash anymore. And if you want to get one now before they're all gone.
To me, I'm going to be asked from my personal, it didn't affect me because to me, my interest in the ship wasn't there. You know what I mean? So I'm kind of at a stance. I'm at a stance to where I'm like, it didn't really affect me.
Okay.
But at the same time too, I looked at it like, okay, the only thing that I kind of saw was like iffy was when they did with the F8 thing.
Okay.
Because it kind of felt almost wasn't there yet, but they corrected it though.
Okay.
Was the bait and switch thing. That's when I start to go, whoa, okay, hold up.
Okay. So you don't feel this crosses the line though. You just think it's another
I don't think that is
what they're
the
doing.
Line. I mean, now don't get me wrong, fair point. Could they have given folks a heads up? I don't know if they did or didn't. Don't know.
Nah,
you know what I'm saying?
They did it for Invictus. That was it.
I mean, right. So I mean, when it happened, Invictus, we all. I mean, at the same time, too, for folks who've been around, and like you said, that you've been around the game for quite some time. You kind of know that these things are that this is their practices, right?
Okay.
Now, let me ask you a question: is this the first time they've done this?
First time they've done a series of ships like this. Yes.
Okay,
yes,
but it's the first time that they've ever done it though with any ship.
Well, they've discontinued designs. Like they'll like. Okay, like the Cutlass looks entirely different than it did right now. Everybody had a Cutlass. When the new one came out, they didn't keep the old model in. They literally, if you owned one, it changed to the new one. Okay. They're going to do the same thing with the Vandal ships. People have the Glaive and stuff right now, the Scythe. There's the new version that you see in Squadron is, well, I'm assuming, because they said they're going to upgrade it when Squadron comes out. So that's going to change. And there are people who said, no, please keep the original versions in, whether it's for collecting reasons or nostalgia, or they just like them. Now, the reason why they changed those ships is because the Cutlasses were bad. They needed a rework. They were horrible. Okay, It didn't work well, right? They were early concept. The Vandal stuff, you can fly that around right now, but like how the blade looks now. That's how the blade it's closer to how the new blade is going to look. But the Scythe and the Glaive, those are the old designs that are in the game, and those are going to change. So they didn't remain in the game. But this one, if you own an F7 now, it will stay in the game. It'll be brought to gold standard. You'll still have it. But what you can't do is go to the store and buy one. They won't pop up at IAE anymore. They won't pop up at ILW. So if you don't get it now, I'm saying with cash.
Right.
Okay.
No. And I get what you're saying. See, listen, the thing about it though is that, and there's two things I want to say is that, number one, that like you said, that's why I asked the question, have they done this before? And have people bought it? Whether or not if it's a series of ships or one ship.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's been done before. And like one thing, like even you said, you've been around for a long time, CIG, you understand the practices of what's going on. Now this ain't nothing new,
right?
Which is to my second point. Other games have done it too.
Yeah, discontinue something.
They have a cosmetic and they say, oh man, limited time, you will never be able to get this, blah blah blah. Now listen, now if it comes down to a point, and this is where I will say this is where it becomes a problem. But I don't see that it coming into this game. When you have something in the cash shop that says, okay, this is a limited quantity, you will not be able to get this, we will not roll this out, but then it gives you an advantage in the game.
Right. That's a little different. Okay. Fair enough.
That's different. Now that becomes pay to win.
Okay. All right. Okie dokie. We'll see what happens. I'm a few more to knock out. Thank you, brother. All right. Let me bring in, I think Odie was next, maybe. Let me bring in Odie Z. Odie, you there?
Who's your daddy?
How are you? Odie?
Hey,
that was his Discord announcement, y'all. That wasn't him saying that. So anyway, just so you guys will know. Yeah.
My bad.
It's okay.
Okay, so I think you already know what I'm going to say about this, right?
Nope.
Why? I mean, is this person brand new? Because I think that's the only thing that can explain this. Because they've been doing this thing the whole time. And besides, you're playtesting a game in alpha, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which means nothing is going to stay the same. They even tell you this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree to them developing it and then as things change or their needs are like if their plans were to change, things will then change as far as like ships go, right?
Right.
We've had that happen with the Carrack, right? People were up in arms about that, but they had to do it because the metrics changed, right? Same thing with the Retaliate. We're now just getting modularity. This is the first ship ever. And how many years are we into development? 12? So, I mean, like, I don't understand this way of thinking. The fact that you're in an alpha, you're already showing that you have a problem with FOMO. Because you can just wait for full release, right? And then just play it then, but you're not doing that. Why? Because you want to get in early. And then to say that this is like CIG's, like, they're being like extremely, I guess, disingenuous with their marketing. How though? If they were selling both the old one and the new one, but even then, it's still a choice. And they're giving, I mean, isn't it better for pretty much the same cost?
Yeah.
What problem do they have exactly?
You know, interestingly enough,
you're not losing anything.
Right. One of the arguments that was brought up was the fact that CIG, and even this doesn't mean that they're not doing it, is the fact that, well, you said that every ship in the game will be available, right? And so that doesn't nullify that, right? Because there may be ways to still get this ship in game. You know, it's just that you just can't buy it with cash. And I think you raise a really good point that I never really gave great consideration to, or at least you definitely brought it out more, is the fact that many people who are backing this are not necessarily backing it for the development. They're backing it because it gives them early access.
Exactly.
And that is and that is early access is supposed to be like the icing on the cake, not the cake, right? The cake is the development, but there are a lot of people who have flipped it, that they are in it because they want to play the game, and early access is in the development is the icing on the cake for them. But they don't realize that this is driven by development. It's not driven by early access. It's driven by development. And if you don't keep development to your point, we've signed off on that. If you don't keep that somewhere in the back or forefront of your mind, when stuff like this happens, you may not feel so good. You may not feel so
I don't actually understand it though, because you still have access to an arguably better ship, unless you're talking about like aesthetically. But then, couldn't they just make it like a skin, right?
I don't know. Maybe that's the only thing I'm seeing. I agree. I mean, Q said that earlier. It's a better ship. I mean, the new ship is a better ship, and it doesn't mean that you can't get it in game some type of way. It's just that you just can't buy it in the store. People feel a certain kind of way about it. You know.
What about all the people who are going to be playing the game after launch? Aren't they going to have FOMO even more so than people playing during development? What about them? Right?
Yeah. That's a good point. That's a very good point.
I just don't understand it. I think maybe, wait, does this person even have the ship, the person who made this thread?
That's a good question. Don't know.
Because I would bet money this person has the ship.
They might.
You see that with this game, like the people that complain the
They're
loudest are
actually
the ones who
actually
are the deepest in it. You know what I'm saying? So
That's true.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't get the impression that this is a new player. I'll agree with you on that. If nothing else.
The line of questioning is brand new, though.
Yeah.
That's the problem I have with it. Yeah.
I got you.
He's acting very brand new for no reason.
Yeah. All right, buddy. Thanks, Odie. All right. Let me bring in North End, then we'll do Admiral, and then we'll wrap it up for the day. North End, how are you?
Good, sir. How are you?
Haven't talked to you in a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, what you got?
So, this is kind of a very packed question and topic.
Mm-hmm.
I'll come back to the first topic, but the second topic where they're talking about Lafley passing up, or to help him making that Kraken. During the ISC, when John Crew was introduced in the Kraken, the Iron Chad, the first part of it was them trying to spin it as kind of a lore / marketing, but he really broke it down saying, we need this to help us build out the Kraken, most specifically the interior of the Kraken.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they went through the walkthrough of the Iron Chad, you can see that there's a lot of bits and bobs pulled from different Drake ships, Corsair, Cullis, and so on and so forth.
Yep.
And the stuff that they had to create new and organically will be used in the Kraken. It was already there. So they kind of already been doing that with I want to say the Polaris. A lot of stuff with the larger RSI ships,
right? For the Galaxy and the other one, yeah.
Correct. So I already see why they're doing it, especially from like as a developer myself. When you can build out the little bits and bobs into like a library and then incorporate into a larger script, you're going to set yourself up for success down the road,
right?
Because right now, what they say was just under 50% of their teams. The UK team is solely directed on the Polaris. I'm surprised they didn't say it, but I'm pretty sure the goal is going to be like under 25% or 25 to 30% for the next capital ship, because that's a lot of wasted resource. I don't want to say wasted, but because not all of them are up to speed, they're there's a lot less turnaround because of it.
Right.
So I totally understand why they're coming out with Ironclad. And that's just, to me, that's just a misnomer. Somebody just wants to cause waves for absolutely no reason.
Yeah. Good
So
point.
going back to the first part where they're saying retire the Mark 1, I want to ask this question. Is this is the first game asset to be retired in a game, not a cosmetic or like, a sheet of armor, something like this. This is a complex asset, and they're pulling it from being purchasable. In my mind, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the first time I've ever seen this. Something this complex. We're not selling this anymore.
Yeah. See, I wish I could say that I'm that versed in video games. Like I think that Fist mentioned like small items, like cosmetic items, or has a car ever been pulled out of GTA 6, like a very popular car?
Something that has a personality.
Yeah, something that has like some impact in some form in the game. And particularly if it was one ship, that's one thing, but they're pulling the entire series, the Ghost, the Tracker, all of them are being retired. The Mark 1s, for now. And mind you, the retirement, we want to emphasize this. The retirement is from buying it with cash. That's the retirement, not from the game. It's remaining in the game, just not going to be able to go to the store and pay real world money to get one. That's the deal. Okay.
Yep. And I want to pull the excerpt because I have the page up that says there will even be other means to obtain the F7 Mark 1 in the future.
Yeah.
Though we're not quite ready to share those plans just yet. So people are like, oh, this is a collector's. I need to get this. Dude, the FOMO, you got to stop drinking the FOMO Kool-Aid. You will have the opportunity to get it in game. All these ships, especially the amount of resources they put into these assets, it just doesn't make sense for them to completely pull them off. Like, okay, we're done with this, and you won't see them ever again. It's like what?
Yeah.
So I think there's just, again, this person is. I understand there's complaining going on. Everybody has their moments of complaint. I have them too. But you gotta come to Soul Citizens and listen how we all talk about and bring ourselves back, reground ourselves. Don't put your head in the clouds and just let it run, because that can cause problems even for your mental health in this game.
Yeah.
So I'm not too terribly worried about it
Mm-hmm.
Because I have a feeling they're probably going to do with other ships too. Like look at the Freelancer
Mm-hmm.
or maybe the Aurora. And there's ships that are like the original concepts
Mm-hmm.
that would be so hard for them to come to gold standard. They're just going to say, we'll try to make it as gold standard as much as possible. We're going to sunset it and rebuild it as a Mark II.
Yeah.
That's not attached to lore.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah.
So
fair enough.
Anyway, that's my little. I hope to clear the air for everybody out there.
All right. Well, no, we appreciate that. Thank you, North End. Okay. North End's in the industry, so he's always got a unique perspective on stuff. Bring in Admiral Kusanagi, and then we'll do Jade, and then we'll wrap it up. Hey, Admiral.
Hey, hello.
Yep.
Oh boy. Yeah, I hate this ship. Let's be honest. I think it's stupid. I hate the air intakes because they're giant and they need air for space so they can suck all that air up. I hate the flip floppy things that pop up.
Remember the original one?
Around.
Remember the original one had like radiator fans in the front of it? Remember when Chris did the
Oh, you're
the
right.
Kickstarter?
Radiator
remember that it had like the fans in the front, right?
Yeah, the front. Like, what the hell is that for? And then, yeah, like the Jesus, the whole thing drives me crazy. I guess it's a lot easier to kind of go to a mark.
Right.
It's what you guys are just talking about the other ships. I mean, look at the Retaliator's 400 years old.
Yeah.
What's the other the stupid one with the what's the other bomber there that I absolutely hate?
Oh, the Gladiator. Yeah, it's old. Those are old. Those are old. They're old. I mean, in lore, they're old ships.
Do you think they're gonna remake their that ship, the Gladiator? Like, why would they even bother?
Yeah.
They shouldn't even bother.
Well, I think the only reason
is like like landing gear. It needs a
rework. It needs a rework. Yeah, versus the gold standard. Yeah, I agree. I would rather see a rework on it than a gold standard on it because it's an older, and it's unfortunately one of those ships that in the early days people flew it because it was the only fighter bomber we had. But as others came out, it lost its luster for a lot of players. It has great on paper the potential, but it's definitely not a ship that you see people out there really flying. You know,
I mean, I will like. It's got a nice. I like the tail of it. It's got a nice. I like the way the tail's done. It actually holds more size 5s. Harbinger.
Yeah,
but it's an awful ship.
Yeah,
it's a really bad.
Yeah,
ship.
you know me. I like bombers. That's the only one I don't own. I'm like, I just don't. But anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Another question I have is, regarding. We'll just say the F-71. If I claim the ship, where is it coming from?
Yeah, that might be. That would be an interesting piece to deal with. Repair is one thing. Yeah, repair is one thing, but manufacturing, will there be if it's destroyed? That's interesting. I'm going to assume that CIG is going to honor that, just because of the business. And this is outside of lore, because of the business dynamic of it. It's the ship you bought. You paid for it. That's the ship you paid for.
I think it should at least be longer duration because it's harder to find.
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
They have to go, looking what are those?
They don't have a lot of spare parts laying around for it. I don't know, but then again, somebody can argue differently and say because they're not making them anymore, they've got all these spare parts laying around. Somebody could argue that argument too.
Well, it would be good for like repair shops because it would give them more, more work.
Yeah,
but a graveyard, yeah. So like the Air Force, the U.S. Air Force has. Graveyard,
right?
Where they put all their bombers,
all their
fighters,
war surplus stuff.
There's all the surplus.
Yeah.
So if they're gonna pull this stuff from that surplus, then it should take a while to get it out of there because they have to. There should be some type of at least a longer time frame to pull it out because it's like the Idris. The people think they're gonna reclaim the Idris. It's gonna be in their
right away
back in their hangar in like a day or 2 hours, whatever. But that thing is not on a parking lot someplace.
Sitting in line. Sitting in new rooms.
You have to get in line. You know what I'm saying?
You think it's sitting in a showroom?
Your own engines to help to quicken the pace. They've said that. They said if you have a major ship and if you have the parts for it, it will quicken the process.
Yeah.
So I think in terms of claiming ships, stuff has to be thought about like that.
Yeah. Okay. All right, buddy. Let me cut through the rest of these. Thanks, man. All right, we got a couple more here. I got Jade, then I've got FC. Then I'm shutting down. Honestly, I'm shutting down after that because we want to watch Paul's show today. Hey, Jade.
Hello.
How are you?
So I'm good. So I just want to pick your brain since you've been with this project or backer for a long time, longer than me. Way back in the day, did they or didn't they say that at some point post-release we wouldn't be able to buy anything other than maybe concept ships?
Yes.
For real money.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, there is people have always felt that, you know, people will say, "Oh, CIG will always sell these ships. There's no way because of the revenue." But you're absolutely right. They did
that's
say
not what
that.
they said.
Right, I know. I'm just saying that's why people believe that.
Happen.
Right, exactly.
That's not what they
that's
said.
That's not what the deal
do.
is. Absolutely. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
So then I remember people were, if I recall, people liked the idea that ships would no longer be sold for real money because then people wouldn't be able to say it was pay to win.
Exactly.
And now there's some people raging on
the other way
because one of the ships won't be able to be sold for real money anymore.
Yeah.
They'll only be able to earn it in the game in some way.
Yeah, yeah. And
Unbelievable.
Well, you know, it's funny. Now, Fist said something earlier that I was going to challenge, but I didn't because I wanted to make sure I got through everybody, right? But he said something that is important. He said, well, I'm not interested in that ship, so it doesn't affect me. One of the things that the poster did put in here, though, was something like, well, what happens if they decide to, like, now, Jade, you and I are in a different category, but let's role play for a second.
Okay.
Let's say that you wanted to buy the... I'm trying to think of a ship that would fit this category. Let's say you went to buy, let's say no, not the Endeavor. Yeah. Let's say the Endeavor. Yeah, because that's you. Let's say the Endeavor. Okay, you wanted to buy Endeavor, and then an announcement came out at IAE this year saying the Endeavor will no longer be available after the IAE, right? But you don't own one.
I love that.
But you don't own one though. Okay,
right? But even if I didn't own one, I would love that.
Okay, so my point is, you want one, but you don't own one. It's IAE. How do you think you would feel, or what do you think you would do? I want to base it on feeling, but would you say, ooh, I need to get this now? Or would you say, let me see if my wallet supports it? As long as you can get it in the game, as long as you can, some way or other to work for it in the game. But if you can't buy it, would you, what would be your initial feeling about that?
So I picked that ship for the very reason that for a long time I held off on buying it because that was like my in-game thing to earn.
The big enchilada, right?
Right. And then I caved in and said, okay, I'll buy it, but not the modules. I'll never buy the modules.
Work for the modules.
I still haven't done, right?
Gotcha.
So for me, I feel like when we, it's good to back the game, right? But at the same time, I feel like sometimes maybe we're short-cutting or, like gameplay
experience
by actually have the ship. So I'm thinking I would actually, even if I didn't own it or have the means to own it at IAE this year, I would like it because what that would tell me is that they're moving to a point where eventually that ship's going to be released and in game and people will earn it in game. And that's gameplay. And that, what did I do? I backed the game to play the game.
Right. That's a good point. Well, Jade, I hate to tell you this because you kind of took my closing argument a little bit. So I'm glad I waited till you came in because I was going to mention about that piece of history that eventually there's going to come a time, according to CIG, that we will not be buying ships off of their website anymore. And this is just one of those steps possibly moving toward that. And there could be some other deeper stuff than this, right, that they could do. But this does kind of test the waters. Kind of like, remember when they put the timers in when you lost your ship and remember the time spiked and everybody went crazy? Yeah. That's coming. It's coming one day, right? It's coming. They tested the waters on that. So I thank you for raising that because that's a very, very valid point. Thanks, Jade. Alrighty. Last but not least, the one and the only FC. What's going on, Fast Cart?
Hey, what's up?
They're discontinuing the Banu Merchantman. Did you see that? You better buy one on Alien Week.
Yeah, right. But I just want to say, sorry, Beth, but a new song came on. If I was your ship, all the things I do for you.
Oh, God.
Yeah, everybody requested that I sing in chat, so blame chat. There's no chat sing band in chat, so yeah, so it's their fault.
I gotta have a
I was gonna say to Jay's point. Not only you spoke about the concept set, but game packages will still be sold too. So there'll always be a way for people
to get into the game. To get into the game.
But yeah, to get into the game. But they may extend the game packages for different from additional ships, or they could subtract game packages because that's the direction that they wanted to go in. But early on, I think it was the 10 for the chairman or something, Chris Roberts or CIG said that they started having different ship models by year, like automobiles. And I think this is just a step towards that.
Yeah. And to your point, Anvil is one of the oldest set of ships that we have in the game. They were them and RSI put out some of the very first ships we got. They were the first fighters. The Aurora series was the that first set that was kind of like a civilian cargo military thing that they put out. These are old ships. The fact that they did the F7s, it's interesting because when they did the F7 Mark II, I remember asking myself, I wonder if that's what they're going to do with all the rest of the Anvil ships. Are they going to put the work in to do upgrades and delete them like they did with the Origin 300 series and like they did with the Cutlass series? Or are they going to have a set of Mark 1s and Mark 2s out there? Will there be more Mark 2s? Will all these ships get a Mark 2 version? I'm hoping that if CIG does do that in some form, and particularly with like the Ghost and the Tracker, because there's specific types of ships, I think that the people will be happier with them. Now, will we work for them versus pay? Will people pay for them? If I own a Tracker Mark 1, do I feel like if the Tracker Mark 2 is better, then I'm going to need to go out and spend money? Or will the gold standard of the Mark 1 Tracker be just as good, be perfect, that there's no need to make a Mark 2? Because once they raise the standards on it, it's working, it's doing what it's supposed to do, so I'm happy with it. You know what I mean?
I've already read a dev post saying that they will do the Mark 2s for the Ghost and the Tracker. So they've already confirmed that.
Okay, yeah. So
something that I'm thinking, I think the direction they may go in is like they may do the same thing for the Freelancer series because that's one of the oldest series too. So I can see them doing like a Freelancer Mark 1 and then Mark 2 for the Freelancer. People would just love to have a bigger view for the cockpit.
I thought that would happen, but I'm going to tell you why I think it won't happen. This last patch, they introduced components into the Freelancers. If they were going to redo those ships, they wouldn't have done that. They've introduced the components into the game that fit. Now, mind you, that doesn't mean they can't do it. But if they were going to do a full rework, they would just do a rework. The fact that they've introduced the hull A and the hull C with their new, to your point, slimmer, better design, better view, everything else, says to me that they're going to change those. When they do a gold standard or an update on them, just like with the Retaliator, they're going to do the same thing with those ships. They're going to have.
So you think it's going to get the Cutlass treatment?
It'll get a rework. Yeah, it'll get a rework.
Okay.
I don't think they'll discontinue, and only because there's only the DUR left and the not the DUR,
MIS.
and the MIS and the DUR, right? So just for those three ships, it'd be just easier just to make them up to date, and they'd be up to date. They'd be great because the whole A is beautiful inside, and it's also the Freelancer. The Freelancer needs it too. Freelancer hasn't had its components, but the Freelancer, I'm sorry, the Prospector has not had its update. The Freelancers have had their components added to them now. They're physicalized. So to switch that into another ship right now, and like I said, anything could happen. But I just kind of feel like they'll just go ahead and do the rework on them.
And one last point I'm going to say,
sure.
I'm probably going to get a CCU for a Mark 1 Super Hornet and a Mark 1 Hunter. It's for nostalgia because the Hornet, the Super Hornet, is one of the first ships that I really liked in the game, like 2014, 2015.
Yeah.
I probably will get a CCU for it, if not, get an outright Super Hornet.
Yeah, the Super Hornet has been a favorite. I mean, of that series of shit, and it's unfortunate that ships like the Tracker and the Ghost, their mechanics weren't in. But the Super Hornet has been beloved by a lot of people. The people who do like the Anvil aesthetic and like those ships, that's been like their go-to. It was the go-to superiority ship for quite a while, and people still like flying it. A lot of people do. It's also the fact that you can have two players people like that ship. So it'll be interesting to see what they come up with, especially if they tie it into lore in some form, because we do know that those ships are old ships, like the Retaliator, they're old ships. So we'll see what they do. All right, my friend. Go ahead.
Satogi brought up that no Heartseeker CCU. I have some Heartseeker CCU in my backpack, so
I had some.
Put that in.
I don't know if it was Jade. Somebody raised this as a question the other day about whether or not the Heartseeker will no longer be available because you could only get that during Valentine's Day and it wasn't sold now. So was that the last time we'll see that ship go up?
Maybe ask CIG and they'll let us know.
Yeah, I'm just saying, they included all of them except for that one. You know what I mean? So I'm just wondering, whether this February was the last time to get that one, or whether because it's one of those custom jobs, it's one of those, remember those 4 ships they did all the custom work on? The Valiant, which was the Gladius, the Saber Comet was one, the Heartseeker was one, and I forget there was a 4th one, I thought. Remember they were lore; those were all lore ships.
The F7A
was the F7A. Yeah, they were all lore. They were all lore ships, right? And I'm just wondering, maybe they'll do that because those are lore ships, and they'll continue to sell them. They may not discontinue that one.
I don't think this is the last time
for the Heartseeker.
That was the last time for the Heartseeker because they didn't announce it.
Yeah.
So CIG always gets in trouble for why don't you let us know about this because we would have done something different. So I think the Heartseeker will be on sale one more time at least.
That's very true. Okay. All right, my friend. Well, you can stick around if you want to, whatever you want to do. All right, I'm going to wrap this topic up for sure. Let's get ready to talk about...
you want me to sing some more? Okay.
No, God, please no. All right, we've got just 9 minutes. But we do want to tell you guys that today is PodSat Saturday. This is the day where we partner with others, content creators in the Star Citizen community, and want you guys to check them out. One of them being Paul Shelley with the Captain's Table, who is going to be on he's probably on now, but we're going to send you guys over there when we do our raid. But his show starts in about 8 minutes. And our own Captain Serious Fun is going to be on the show today.
He's not.
Oh, he's not now. Oh, okay. I was trying to break my neck to make sure I was done so I could watch the show. Well, I'll still watch it anyway. But anyway, Captain's Table will be on in just a few minutes. We're going to send you guys over there. And then after that, later tonight, if you guys can watch Relay SC, the OGs of Star Citizen, been around some of the longest content creators in our community. They'll be on tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern time. Hopefully you guys can check them out. Do want to talk about what we've got coming up on tomorrow. We will be doing our annual Invictus show. We always do our Invictus show at the end so we can kind of reflect and talk about what's been going on. There's a lot of stuff to talk about this time. Even this conversation we had about the Anvil Mark I series, we'll be talking about that tomorrow. We'll also be talking about the new Drake ship that came out today that everybody is completely surprised on. Fast Cart, I called it. I said it was going to be less than what people thought, and I was right. I was right. But anyway, we're going to be talking about all the cool stuff that came out in Invictus this year and also challenging you some questions about Invictus 2. At our table, we're going to be talking about that tomorrow with the Soul Citizen. So hopefully you guys will be here to join us tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Don't forget, on Thursdays, Fast Card Shows, Soul Talk is on at 9 p.m. Eastern time. You guys get to come on and have a roundtable discussion talking about what's going on in the Star Citizen community from ISC, SCL, and anything else that's happening on Spectrum. Just great community conversation that we have on Thursdays. Next Saturday, I will not be here. I will not be doing Soul Voices next week because I, myself, and a few other Soul Citizen backers are going to be jumping in the car and driving to Columbus, Ohio. We're going to be going to Equinox. I haven't decided whether I'm going to stream from there. I might, depending.
I was just about to ask.
Yeah, it's work. I ain't trying to work. I'm trying to go have fun. So if I can figure out a way to do it and make it fun, then yeah, we'll maybe streaming. There's a group of us going out there. Rad's going out there. Radarid's going out there. And the Aztec Sun is going. I'm going. We've got our tickets. Falcon. No, is it Falcon? Who's going to be out there? Is it Falcon that's going to be out there? Yeah, I think Falcon's coming. Somebody else in our group. But there's a bunch of people from the Soul Citizen community that are going to be out there. We're going to get to see people like Grim and other folks hang out with them for the day. So it's going to be real fun. It's first time going out to Equinox. You guys can check them out online. Just look up EQNX_SC, I think it is. If you guys want to check it out, they still have tickets available for that event If you're near the Columbus, Ohio area or in the Midwest and you want to drive out, we'll be there for that next week.
And I can't wait to see y'all hop out of the van, the Scooby-Doo van.
Oh, trust me, my car has plenty of room. Trust me. But anyway, that's going to be next week. So we won't be here next week, but we will be back on next Sunday. By the way, since the subject did come up a little bit, our show next Sunday, you guys might want to be here for. It's called Revenue Stream. And it's going to be talking about what's CIG going to do later on, if and when they stop selling ships, and how will they generate money to keep this company going for 5, 10, 20, 30 years later on? Are they going to implement subscriptions? No subscriptions? Are they going to sell cosmetic? We're going to talk about all the possibilities of what CIG could do to sustain their company and sustain the dream of Chris Roberts beyond just what we have in our hands right now. So that's going to be next Sunday. But for tomorrow, Invictus, we'll be here on that, okay?
Speaking of revenue, real quick, CIG is almost at 700 million. Yeah, 696.
696. Yep, I mentioned that earlier. We are getting closer and closer, but it's still a long way from $1 billion. I can tell you that. I know people keep thinking, "Oh, we'll be at $1 billion." I'm like, I don't think we're going to hit $1 billion. You know what I think we're going to hit? You want to hear my prediction, Fast Cart?
Okay.
My prediction is we will hit $1 billion once we get to Star Citizen 1.0, or after Squadron's release, maybe after Squadron's release, maybe. I think it's going to be somewhere between Squadron release and 1.0. I don't think we're going to get there before.
Or whichever one hits first, right?
Yes. I think that either one will impact the community in such a way that we'll see an upsurge. You know what I mean, in revenue. But until then, I think we're still going to kind of creep up the way we've been creeping up. Just slowly approaching it. But I think we'll see a big bump once we hit that point, because I think that's what will bring in the people and the numbers in order to make that happen. But that's just my 2 cents on it. So anyway, all right.
Sounds reasonable.
Well, listen, I'm looking at Paul's show right now. It looks like Execute and HC Vertigo are on with Paul, so they got to start a captain's table already. We're going to get ready to send you guys over there. Once again, thank you everybody who came in and talked with us today, shared your thoughts in the chat. Really appreciate you. Those who sub, thank you as always. And followers, new followers, thank you guys for being here today. Really appreciate you guys joining us. And to everybody who's out there, hopefully you can join us tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern time for our Invictus review. And until then, we're going to say peace, love, and soul. Take care. Bye.